In this video, you will learn how to create a glowing neon light effect using Photoshop. This technique can be used on any image using Photoshop. We will also color grade our image according to our neon light effect using simple technique. You don't need to be an expert to do that neon light effect. Even if you are a beginner, you can follow my steps to create that effect. So without wasting time, let's get right into the video. First of all, open your image in Photoshop and duplicate your image. So if you make any mistake, you can always go back to your real image. After making a copy of your image, I will increase the canvas size by going on the crop tool. Now by holding Alt key, I will drag it to the right so the both sides can increase equally in size. I think that looks good. Now press enter. Let's resize the image by content aware fill. To do so, click on the marquee tool and click and drag on the empty areas, and don't forget to press shift to add another selection. After making the selection, make sure your image layer is selected. Go to layers, fill and set it to content aware fill. Press OK and the Photoshop automatically generate the image for you. Now press Ctrl+D to deselect the selection. Now it's time to add our neon shape. I will use pen tool for the shape. You can also use circles, triangles and other shape you want. Press P to bring up the pen tool, or you can click on the pen tool. I will randomly create a shape for the glow effect. Now press Ctrl+T to transform. Adjust your shape according to your need and press enter. Add a new layer on top of your image. Go to brush tool or press B on the keyboard to bring up the brush tool. Bring up the hardness to 100% and set your brush size. And make sure your flow is 100% and opacity to 100%. If you make a mistake, you can always go back by pressing Ctrl+Z to undo. You can also use the curly brackets to increase or decrease the brush size. Now go to colors and choose your color for your neon light effect. I will use bright red. The code is FF1010. After choosing your color, press OK, select your pen tool, right click and click on the stroke path. Make sure it is on brush and press OK. It will create lines according to your brush setting. Now, if you are not happy with your color, double click on the layer to bring up the effects panel and add a color overlay. Choose your color what you want and press OK. It will change the color that you choose, but for me it is not necessary to change the color, so I will uncheck the mark. Now let's add inner glow to make tube effect. Set the opacity to 100%, noise to 0 and make sure your source is at center. Set the choke to 0 and increase the size according to your need. Set your counter to half rounded and play with your settings to get the result that you want. Now let's add outer glow to the tube. Choose your color that your neon light to be. Mine is red and press OK. Set the opacity to 100 and mode to linear dodge. Increase the size a bit. Zoom in to see the changes in the effect. If you want your glow to be softer around the edges, decrease the opacity about 70 to 80%. You can also use multiple outer glow effect on your path, but there is another alternative way to make the tube more bright. Click on the drop shadow, choose your neon light color and set the opacity to 100%. Choose the mode to linear dodge. Increase your size to maximum. It could be 250 if you are using a large photo like me. And your glow effect is done. Press OK to close the window. Now let's add larger glow to the tube so it will look more prominent. To do so, add another layer and press B to bring up the brush tool. Set your brush to soft and make sure it is on 0 hardness. Increase its size about 250 to 300 pixels. Now go to pen tool. Make sure your path is selected. Right click and click on stroke path. Make sure it is on brush tool and click OK. After that, set the blend mode to linear dodge to match the background color. You can also decrease its fill about 50% to make the glow more softer. Now shift and click to make the group of the neon layer by pressing Ctrl+G. Rename the group to neon lines and press enter. Now you can delete your path by selecting the path and press the delete key. To make the neon tube that it's surrounding the subject, to do so, click on the subject layer, go to select and click on subject. The Photoshop will automatically select the main subject in the image. You don't need to be precise for this. Left click on the group and click on mask to make a layer mask. As you can see, the mask is applied to the subject, so let's invert it by pressing Ctrl+I. By doing so, the neon tube is behind the subject. It is not surrounding the subject like we wanted. Now press B to bring up brush tool and make sure your foreground color is set to white. Now paint on the layer mask to bring the neon tube in front of the subject. The effect is almost done. All we need to do is just add an hue and saturation layer on the subject. Click on colorize and increase the saturation to 100%. Choose your neon light color. My neon color was red, so I will choose red. Go back to layers and double click on the hue and saturation layer to bring up the effects window. Now hold Alt and drag the shadow to the right, so the hue and saturation layer only affect the bright areas of the image. If you are happy with the result, you can press OK. I will also do the same to the other layers to make the effect more subtle and press OK. Add a new layer to make the effect more real in the image. Press B for the brush tool and increase its size a little bit. Just click on the layer where the neon light is behind the object. Decrease the fill of the layer to make the effect more subtle and soft on the subject. As you can see, it makes a huge difference on the subject to make it more realistic. Now let's add smoke effect on the image by creating new layer and bring it above the image layer. Go to your brush tool and select your smoke effect brush. Increase or decrease the size of the brush tool. After adding the brush, create a layer mask and set your foreground to black. Set flow to 50% and remove some smoke from the image. You can also decrease its opacity to about 20% to make it more realistic. You can also add another color to the image. Create a new layer and select your brush tool. Select soft brush and set your alternative color and press OK. Paint on the layer and set the opacity to about 5%. And that's it. That's how you can add neon glow effect to your image. If you like this tutorial, then don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. And always thanks for watching.